Welcome to the show, I Know Black People. We take contestants who claim to know black people and put their knowledge of African American culture to the test. The contestant who answers the most questions, of course, wins our grand prize. Black people! Why do black people love menthol so much?
I don't know.
That is correct. Nobody knows.
Big tobacco companies have used the black community to increase their profits for hundreds of years. Here's a breakdown of how they did it. As far back as the 1600s, tobacco was a major cash crop in the early American colonies. In fact, the first successful commercial tobacco crop was cultivated in Virginia in 1612 by Englishman John Rolfe. Within 7 years, tobacco had become the colony's largest export. Over the next 2 centuries, the growth of the U.S. tobacco industry increased the demand for slave labor. By 1913, the modern era of national cigarette advertising had begun. R.J. Reynolds advertised their product as a milder tobacco than competing cigarettes. By the roaring 1920s, cigarette companies like Carolina Brights prominently produced ads that featured the images of black people. They even used the images of black children smoking. During the 1930s, other brands like Lucky Strike started using images of famous black athletes and artists of that era to compete against other brands. They cast their products as being the mildest and the smoothest. During the jazz era of the 1940s and 50s, cigarette companies continued to use black celebrities and famous athletes in magazine ads and newspapers. Tobacco was a major radio sponsor. The vernacular origins of cool stemmed directly from the jazz culture of the 1950s and 60s. So the Cool brand capitalizes on the perceived coolness of African American popular culture. However, in 1964, the U.S. Surgeon General report documented the relationship between smoking and death.
NBC News presents Smoking and Health. The background and detailing of the report issued today by the United States Surgeon General's Advisory Committee on Smoking and Health. Brought to you by...
As a result, the tobacco industry projected that the sales of non-menthol cigarettes would decline as more educated and affluent population groups would no longer smoke cigarettes at the same rate. So Big Tobacco figured out how to close the gap in their earnings by heavily marketing mentholated cigarettes to the black community.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you smoke Old Gold?
They gave them to us in the service, a carton a week for free.
So you're used to it, is that it?
Yeah, they're a habit.
Well, I could never get you to try another brand, say, my Luckies.
I love smoking.
I love smoking, that's very good.
My wife hates it. Reader's Digest says it will kill you.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Ladies love their magazines.
Yes, they do.
By the mid-2000s, 3 out of 4 of all African American smokers preferred menthol cigarettes, over 3 times the rate as white smokers. The disproportionate rate of smoking in the black community has caused major health disparities like COPD, heart disease, and cancer of the lung, throat, and stomach. Smoking rates in the black community remain much higher than those of the general population, and the quitting rates are lower. However, cigarette smoking remains the predominant cause of preventable disease among African Americans in the United States, leading to disability, death, and loss of income.
The truth is that this is exploitation. The tobacco industry has a well-documented and long history of sort of developing and marketing menthol brands to racial and ethnic minorities.
Tobacco companies also gave millions of dollars to black institutions like the NAACP, Congressional Black Caucus, and others.
We have been targeted. Until the ink is dry on the recently announced federal ban, we must fight the sale of menthol and other flavored tobacco products in the African American community.